guess the eternal call has gone out. What have you forgotten now, Daggy? Before the show, but we're in action here on YouTube, Spotify,
Might be for a limited time,
iTunes, and wherever else good podcasts are found. Footy and Frothies, Daggy and Barney with you as always to talk about rugby league. I was going to say from every angle, but they've stolen that one already, so we can't use that. What's happening, Bun?
Just watch it from my angle. That's fine. I'll throw all my bias and everything else in there as we go. No, not much, mate. It's another one of those mundane weeks where the days tick by. Said goodbye to the mother-in-law on Friday. So interesting, but it was a lovely send-off for Gail. And weekend was a bit, it's a little bit of down weekend, but and not enough footy for my liking. But we did have the cricket to go off the back of it.
Yeah.
So I did spend a lot of nights into the early hours of the morning, sipping on a beverage, watching the cricket.
What do you make of the Australia's performance there?
Yeah, good in parts, but some of their bowling plans towards the lower order of the English batsmen was questionable to say the least. When you're continually bowling short and getting hit to the boundary, you probably got to try something else, don't you?
Well, it cost themselves the game.
Yeah,
they gave away 60 to the tail, bowling bumpers.
And you bowl your spinner for 2 overs in the second dig. Like, surely you got to give him at least 5 or 6 before you roll him out and tell him to field for the rest of the day. So.
Yeah, jury's a bit out on Todd Murphy. On those decks anyway. Looked good in India, but I mean, it's hard to be thrown in when you haven't bowled for 6 months and everything else. But anyway, I thought there was some average captaincy at best there.
There's probably a couple of wickets thrown away as well in the batting innings.
100%.
So
Labuschagne Smith threw away, probably threw the test away, really.
But yeah, 2 really even teams and some more games to go.
So it's really been one of the better test series of all time.
You have absolutely no idea what's going to happen in the next over, let alone the next session.
Well, people rave about the 05, including me, rave about the 05 series for the same reason, and only missing the star power it had back then.
There's probably a little bit of little bit more skill in both sides back then, but
in terms of closeness of teams, I think this is pretty close. Mm-hmm. And if we had got 2 decent wickets in the first 2 games, it would have been very interesting.
Yeah, it would have been. What'd you make of the weekend?
I got my Rugby League Chaos. That was good. That's all I wanted. So.
2 games with one with a fair amount and the other one with a touch of it. So.
And I thought every game was fine. We'll get to it all in a minute. I can't possibly say Tigers were hard done by, but I thought they were unflattered by the scoreline. But we'll get to that. You can tell me I'm wrong then.
Mm-hmm. I probably will.
Yeah, well, there we go. But apart from that, it was good. Like you said, good weekend of footy, but there's lots of gaps. When you don't have your Saturday and your Friday night games, and what else? What do you do if you have to speak to the missus and shit? Anyway,
do housework.
Exactly. I dodged a lot of that this weekend, and got to see a great UFC card yesterday with a good friend of the show, GT. See Volker go from strength to strength, so that was good.
You heard it was a good day.
Good afternoon all round on the Sunday. But in terms of news, I guess the biggest one is that Josh Reynolds is officially retired. So he's got a farewell at Belmore this week for the Bulldogs New South Wales Cup team. Great Bulldog servant, New South Wales representative, played for the Tigers.
Turned up.
And went to England for a little bit. But, the grub definitely was never short of effort, I suppose.
Yeah, and obviously got his nickname for what he's done on the field, but he'll be long remembered for a lot of the stuff he did off the field and fallen on his sword. Realistically, to let Toby Sexton back in here, I don't know if it's ended up costing him money out of his contract or what it is with the last 8 games still to go, but it was only a minimum contract anyway.
But I believe, and I don't quote me this, I believe the agreement was you'd end up being involved with the pathways
something in the
along the way,
staffing program,
probably instant transmission.
Probably deserved it anyway, realistically. I thought it was a fantastic gesture towards the club, the way that he's fallen on his sword to let Toby Sexton come in, and he had an impact on the weekend too.
He was very good. Judiciary news: Tane Milne, 3 games if he contests his challenge. I think there's a $3,000 fine if he just takes a plea, which I assume is going to happen.
You would think so. I can't see him getting off that.
Yeah. Injury news: Sutton ended up in hospital with neck pains in that Saturday night game, but the belief is he'll be fine. So he could even play this week. I don't think it was because he wasn't officially a HIA, but I assume common sense
I
will prevail
doubt
one
they'd
way or
let him
another.
play, but we'll see.
And I haven't had an update on Sullivan, Little, and Paul Turner, who all left the field injured. Hamstring. I can't remember why Little left the field.
I think Paul Turner would have
Turner
probably
was
been pretty happy to leave the field when he did.
the way he was going. It was a kidney shot or whatever happened in the back there. He was down for a long time. But they're all being monitored. There's no update on any of them. Any other talking points from...
Well, Dylan Walker's off for scans on his
yes.
arm, apparently,
Yes,
after leaving in the second half.
And Torhu is just Torhu. So
we're still up. Yeah.
he'll just tape himself
He'll
up
keep
again
running
and keep
around
going.
bone on bone for the next
Yeah.
8 to 12 weeks,
Yeah.
depending on how long they're in the comp. But yeah, he looks seriously inconvenienced every game at different points in the.
Well, he
and still
apparently
manages
insisted on
to
finishing that
stay
game.
out
So
there, so
how can you not love him?
absolute warrior.
He's my tribal chief. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other? That's it. Not a lot going on this weekend. It's a
No,
bit of a
there
bland
wasn't
weekend.
any real charges apart from Milne that I can remember. Yeah, no.
No, I'm sure there's bumps and bruises along the way, but I couldn't find any information on anything further. I guess it kicked off Friday night, 36-12. What line did you give me? Was it 30 or 36?
30.
We'll call it even.
Right, yeah. I wanted to give you 24, which would have just got me out of jail here, but I'll let you pick your own line, and we went with 30. So.
What did the stats say?
We had 2 tries to 7, 2 out of 2 conversions, played 3 out of 7 for Cronulla, 1 out of 1 penalty goals for the Sharks, 78% completion, played 82%, 536 plus running metres and 120 plus post contact metres for the Sharks. 2 line breaks to 6, 20 tackle busts to 35, 11 offloads to 6, a forced dropout from both teams, 372 tackles, played 320. Both teams made 9 errors, 5 penalties conceded to 7, 2 ruck infringements to 3. Nico with 109 Supercoach points, Talakai with 103, Katoa with 103. Talakai was 105, I think. Katoa with 103. And then 3 other Sharks before you get down to Sean Bloor, and probably close to his best game in first grade.
Speaking of ruck infringements, just want to mention, we did mention last week that they would be joining us, but Joey had an emergency in the family, and just want to pass on our best to him.
Absolutely.
Thinking of him and the fam there, hope they get the best out of their time with each other. So we will reschedule that for down the road.
Line him up again some point.
Looking forward to that. Yep. But look, I'm going to start with the fact that fuck me, the Tigers just have no luck sometimes. Like, I'm not even saying it's refereeing or anything else, but, like, game on the line, Wake and Grubbers a ball behind the line, probably 9 games out of 10 that sits up and Tapau scores on the winger scores on the wing. Tupu scores. I was showing which side it was on. And it just rolls into touch. You have the Talau incident. You have, which you can't say was unlucky, but they're momentum killers at key times. And I thought at times, just getting my thing out of the way, Tigers, as have all year, looked like a decent enough team. And I think produced, when they were on top, if they'd had a spine, they really put the pressure on Sharks. And it was concerning at times for me how the Sharks were backpedaling in a lot of that. I think they got, when the ball was going left to right, they sort of got a little bit stripped without a lot of result. And again, key moment would have been if Talau's catches that clean, it's 18-all. I think even 18-all, Will Smith kicks us out in the full, and we had all the momentum. March upfield, Nico scores literally next set. Interestingly, on the NRL.com highlights, none of this made the highlights. It was all just Sharks.
Didn't kick one out.
You kick one out on the full.
No, but they didn't kick a penalty out.
I didn't kick a penalty.
Mulatalo
classic.
Grabbed it and knocked it back in.
Yeah, classic Tigers. Which it's only worst enemy, but there's just moments that are momentum killers. I thought for 15 minutes they looked like a good football team, but they've had the same issue all year, and ultimately we saw for the rest of the year, and they've got no spine right now. And we saw in this very same round the 3 other teams with no spine all got beat. Souths had no spine, got beat, and the other team that I've just forgotten. Parramatta had no spine and got beat, and probably were in a similar situation at times in this game. I just got it off my chest. I just want to say quickly, Sean Blorford, best game in first grade. If they haven't got a contract in front of him soon, someone else will have. Probably the Bulldogs.
You would
'cause
think
they've,
so.
They've got a 50-man
His
roster
form's
next year.
definitely picked up since he's been told he can look elsewhere.
Yeah, well, he's been outstanding. And so is Tommy Talau, who's a good pickup for Manly next year. Beyond that, I like what Pole got through because I think it worked better with Bateman back at the edge, Pole in the middle, where they should have kept him. Bateman, problem is Bateman now take 2 weeks, get used to being back on an edge, and we'll go through it all again. And I thought Alex Seyfarth looked big and strong and dangerous. He's almost probably second best target on the field apart from Blore, and just looked like he had size about him. Like I'd never thought of him as a big back rower. But that all being said, Sharks ultimately have more class. Got frantic at times, but their outside backs and their edges were superb in this game, and ultimately the difference here. I thought Nakura hitting holes as he always does, and making Ramian look brilliant outside him. And then Talakai's just a wrecking ball.
Taking a lot of interest off Ramian.
When you got two blokes, it's a 3-man job to stop Talakai, and that was exposed on a number of occasions.
Even on a couple of occasions, they couldn't stop him with 3 blokes.
Exactly.
But if Mulatalo could catch a ball in this game, you would have lost by 60. The bloke that set jumped for 3 or 4 bombs and dropped every single one of them. And it was just to catch the ball and fall over the line job. Because they went there on so many occasions. I think he made 3 errors. I reckon he made about 5 or 6. And they were all contesting that high ball over on... who were they putting it on the head of? There was... I think it might have been around Wakeham
and stuff.
Wakeham,
Kapoa's not a
Starford,
and Kapoa's a back row on the wing, and that was
it was obviously a plan.
Exposed, and rightfully so, because he's at times he's been to wing, he's been turned around by grubbers as well.
But the first half was super tough, competitive, and the Tigers did have the edge towards the back end of that first half. Sharks made 1 error in the first 25 minutes and were absolutely humming. 12-0, looked like they were going to just be one of those games where they just have an absolute walkover. They made 3 errors and a ruck infringement, I'm pretty sure, in the next couple of minutes, which put the Tigers down on the Sharks line, and they cashed in. It was a lovely pass from Will Smith, beautiful cutout pass to make the space for him to score out wide there. And then, it was 2 ruck infringements and a penalty to begin with, and then it was 3 back-to-back drop balls and another penalty to do it again. And then the Tigers went down the other end, and Blore just busted through probably 1 or 2 pretty soft tackles to begin with, but absolutely trampled the ball fullback and then scores under the post. And the Tigers looked like they were well and truly up for the fight. The second half, they just
didn't come out. Well, they
came out a completely different team. Like they were under pressure from basically the kickoff in the second half.
They stuffed up early. They needed to make an impression. They wrestled back momentum for about 5 minutes, and that was it.
But the Sharks came out, obviously, with a plan to lift the tempo straight away in that second half, and a lot of it came from the leg drive and the speed around the ruck, with McInnes having a fantastic game in this one and causing a lot of problems in the middle of the field. And every time McInnes stuck his nose through the line, Brayley went straight after him, and he had another fantastic game out of hooker for the Sharks in this game, creating a lot of opportunities and time and space for his outside men. I thought he was fantastic. There was a little bit of luck for the Sharks as well, like the Falcon for Ramian to score, where he tapped it back into his own head, and then it just pops over a Tigers defender, and he grabs it again, and then falls over the line.
And then Katoa popping it up, and it just sits right up there. If that was the other way around, it would hit someone on the way through.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a Nico double movement. That was there.
Yeah, but he was always sliding over the line.
Katoa didn't score that last try, but no need to check. It's fine.
I thought he got it down, but who knows? Bit of bias here probably from myself. The thing that was probably most worrying for the Tigers is when in that 20-metre line, when they were about 20 metres off their own line, they were going backwards in defence.
Yeah.
Rather than sliding or holding their ground, they were actually backpedaling, which was assisting the Sharks, just giving them more time and space, really, for their outside men who cashed in. Talakai had a massive game, as you mentioned. Talau was probably the best of the back five for the Tigers, who did struggle for large parts of the game. I think you mentioned most of these. I don't think you mentioned Stefano. I thought he had quite a good game. You mentioned Pole and Seyfarth. Clemmer was pretty good as well.
Yeah, got for a mountain of work as he always
Blore
does.
Blore was very good in attack, and Blore and Bateman were the Tigers' best two players, I thought. I think you're a bit harsh on Bateman. I thought he had a pretty good game, actually.
Oh no, he did. Yeah.
Considering he was switched
I,
positions.
that wasn't a knock on him. It was more like he's not going to come out. And
Probably going to be better in a
brilliant.
couple of weeks from now. Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
just getting his feet back out there.
Yeah.
But what's it all mean? Like they're on holidays in 6 weeks.
Yeah, Katoa and Ramian looked dangerous every time they touched the ball. Caused problems out on that right-hand side or the left-hand side defence for the Tigers. Wilton and Williams were very good in the middle of the field. Williams had a big impact, I thought, when he came off the bench and assisted in the middle with McInnes, who I thought was quite good. Brayley, Talakai and Hines, for mine, were probably close to the best three players on the field. They were fantastic.
They've still got something. Tom Hazelton too.
Mm,
He had a good
absolutely.
game. It was a very good game. And when now you got Rudolph back, now the big missing piece has been size.
Yep.
And I think now you got.
And I think
two you
Ueli's
can
due
trust.
back in a couple of weeks as well. So.
I wouldn't be losing Hazelton from this 17.
No, I wouldn't either.
He's been fantastic in the last month, and
Let's face it, it's got to be Graham.
yeah,
If you look through that 17 and you want to bring ULE back into this team, for mine it has to be Wade Graham that loses his spot in this 17. But
I think they're.
and
yeah,
you've got the other fellow, Royce Hunt, there too, who's
was he injured or is he
due
still around?
back. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
injured as well. So
It is a bit of
him and
size.
ULE are injured. But
I mean, you'd be happy, you'd tick your box. And you'd
yeah,
move on
no,
if you're the
definitely
Sharks.
happy. The roll into the finals, they've got two or three tricky games
So
over the
you've got
next
Warriors
7
this week,
weeks.
which is a cracker.
Mm-hmm.
Seagulls
Raiders, who we have a poor record against,
and Panthers,
Manly, we have a
and
poor
Bunnies.
record against. So
and Cowboys.
they're going to really know how they're going by the semi-finals time. I expect them. They're running second at the moment to slip down, may even miss the top four. But if they win two of those games that we just mentioned, they probably hold on to the top four, which is realistically what they need to do to be a threat at the end of the year. So they'd need to beat someone like the Warriors and then the Bunnies, or the Raiders and the Bunnies on the way through, or the Panthers even. But
yeah, you'd love to tick off over Warriors. You could beat the Bunnies.
Cowboys
Or
Bunnies,
Cowboys.
yeah.
Great. And even the Raiders is mate.
It's just their record against them for
You'd
whatever
feel
reason.
nervous around 26.
It's ridiculous.
Or around 27.
Losing
if
to
you
the
had to
Raiders.
win to get into it. That could be almost, ironically, a fourth place playoff.
Could be, yeah.
With old mate Dan, who I'm going to owe $100 to. Anyway. I thought, I had 3 points Talakai, 2 points Nickera, 1 point Ramian. And you're going to probably jump up and down about Nico, but bleh.
Well, he had a try and 3 try assists, so
Yeah,
that's
so
why he continually gets, he's involved in pretty much everything that the Sharks do. It might not be the catalyst for everything that happens, but he's the one who gets the stats put against his name as 3 try assists and a try. Is pretty rough to miss the points, I would suggest. But I'm happy with Talakai for 3. Nickera, you said? I thought Brayley or McInnes were better than Nickera.
Well, I didn't think of Brayley, and you're right. And he's had a fantastic.
So I'd
3
be
or 4
happy
weeks
with
now.
Brayley for 2. And then, if you want to leave Nico out, we can go with...
It doesn't really matter. Nico or Ramian, what do you reckon?
I'd take Nico.
All right,
But
give it to Nico.
Give
There
Nico the
you
one.
go.
Or McInnes. I thought McInnes again was
Actually,
quite good in this game.
No,
but
give it to Nico, you're right. Who am I to stand in Nico's way?
give him 1 point. So what we come up with? Talakai, Brayley, Nico.
Yeah. 36-26, the Raiders gave the Dragons a sniff for a large part, and probably
They did probably deserve to lose this game.
Probably
but
got
could have
lucky
said that
not
a few
to-
times this
well,
year.
it was a classic. Do the stats and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. 5 tries to 6, 3 out of 5 conversions for the Dragons, 6 out of 6 for the Raiders. 82% completion, played 77%, 306 plus running metres and 66 plus post contact metres for St George. 9 line breaks to 8, 44 tackle busts to 34, 10 offloads to 7. A forced dropout from both teams, 335 tackles played, 358. 8 errors for the Dragons, 11 for Canberra. 5 penalties conceded to 6, 2 ruck infringements to 1. Ravalawa with 145 Supercoach points. Lomax with 138. Tomoko with 122. And Amone with 111.
Yeah, it was that. Just when I was about to level up the scores, Jacob Little makes a break and breaks the line, busts through, and then the Tiger DNA kicked in him and he dropped the ball cold. And then the Raiders marched upfield and scored the very next set. You can't escape it. But
in his blood now. He's
Yes.
fucked.
Sorry, Jake, because he had a good game. He's had a pretty good season.
He's had a very good season, considering where he was a bit part player at the Tigers and getting lucky to get 45 minutes a week to what he's putting out now for the Dragons.
So that was a particular. Well, it just there it was. There it was. But a good game of footy, and as you said, the Dragons almost should have won this game. But what do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You got a small dose of the Rugby League Chaos in this one, with both teams basically just targeting one side of the field. Ricky deserves a slap for not moving Frawley away from Croker.
Yeah.
Because once that started happening, it was so
Frawley
easy to see.
5'8" or centre,
Yeah, he's
or was he
playing 5'8".
rotate? That's what I thought and pushed wide. But in defence, they weren't.
No.
That's what I was. Yeah, like and in attack, I get why White was a pair wider and everything else. But
between Frawley and Croker, I think it was 15 missed tackles, all in the same position of the field, which led to pretty much every point that the Dragons scored.
yeah,
Apart from I think it was a barge over from Ravalawa to score the Dragons' first try. Those two weren't involved in that, but everything else just came straight through that same spot, with Lomax jumping over the top of people and Ravalawa cutting back in and just blasting through that hole in the Raiders' defensive line. I just thought three or four different things in this game. Start of the game, fucking Tomoko's absolutely killing them. The Raiders are on fire. They'll win by 30, and then it was, Dragons might be a chance here. They're starting to crawl their way back. Nah, Raiders will win easy. Oh, fuck, hang on. So George might actually get away with this game. And, just the back and forth was
Canberra
ridiculous.
spent a good half hour of the second half just doing nothing. Just faffing about. I don't know what they were doing.
They were just trying to get to the Fogarty kick, I think, for a large part of that second half.
Yeah.
Which proved fruitful again for the Raiders.
His kicking game, he's in the top 3, 4 in
recently.
He
absolutely.
is absolutely on point. His
Aiming
spiral
for the
bomb's
post
fantastic.
again.
He's got the post
bombs.
kick. Absolutely down pat. Led to more points. I think it's led to points in 4 games this season.
Yeah.
Just a fantastic player, Fogarty.
Yeah, there was some nice highlights on the highlight reel with some of the tries that were scored in this one, but there was some ugly defence as well, especially in the first half for the Dragons. They let in so many long-range breaks and a couple of tries there that probably shouldn't have happened. The Fogarty kick to the post and the Frawley cross kick when they managed to get the ball back, and he hit Tomoko out on the edge and they scored off that. They were some of the better moments in play. The Ravalawa try where he busted down a sideline and then got the ball back into Billy Burns, who cut it straight back across to him to score over in the right corner, was another highlight in this game. But there was some ugly, scrappy stuff as well. Tomoko killed it early doors. Like, he was just running an absolute muck. They could not stop him. He was just breaking tackles for fun in the first sort of 20 minutes of this game, which led to the Raiders having a big part of field position and possession early in the game. Lomax and Ravalawa, as I mentioned, just absolutely terrorised Croker and Frawley.
Apart from injuries, he's had a great season.
Yeah,
yes. 2 or 3 years ago, he had that potential to be a Sivo-ish sort of player. And I would argue he's adding more to this team than Sivo's
adding. He's doing more than
to,
what Sivo's doing at the moment.
to his team.
Yeah, especially this weekend.
Well, yeah.
And that's the way they got back into the game. They terrorised that. Really hot-spotted that part of the defensive line. Little Laurie and Jack DeBellin had very good games, I thought. Burns and Amone were great. Like, Burns had a fantastic game off the bench, and Amone, probably that was his best.
He had a game, I remember, it was a game last year against the Bulldogs.
Try and a couple of try assists.
This was better. He looked like he was going to score every time.
And he was really composed as well. He was doing a bit of the game management stuff as well, which we haven't really seen out of him yet. So
whether it's a weight off the shoulders or whatever is going on without, or whether he just decided, well, Sloane's not here, Hunt's not here.
Yeah,
I'm a footballer.
Someone's got to do it.
If they're, whether he's on or off contract or whatever's happening, or with Flannery coming in, he looked like a half. He looked like someone. If you're a club needing a half, you'd be interested in. So.
Lomax and Ravalawa were the way they got back into the game, and they were St George's best players. Chris Fogarty and Hudson Young had good games without being brilliant. I thought Whitehead had one of his stronger games of the year, and so did Wolford. Thought he was pretty good in this one. Tapane and Tomoko were the two Canberra's best two players.
Well, if they're not
by
in the
a
field, they
fair
don't win.
stretch. No.
Simple as that. Tapane was fantastic in this game. Back to he's had a quiet year compared to last year.
The last 3 weeks or so, he's really
he's
been
starting
going
to
quite
warm
good.
into this.
Yeah.
And the other bloke you haven't mentioned is Jack DeBellin, who was outstanding, I thought, carrying a lot of, getting through a lot of hard work. And he's just the one in the middle, the yo in the middle.
He does 2 and 3 blokes' jobs every
Yeah,
week,
that's right.
week in, week out.
And he's, even stat-wise, it's fantastic. But you notice just how much work he gets through because their forward pack's terrible. Blake Laurie looks as big as me these days. What happened there?
He has got a bit bigger, hasn't he?
Maybe a squirrel beard, but
He still has a crack.
he was fine. Not to knock
he's
his
still going
performance,
good.
but yeah, that was a head scratcher. Ultimately, but again, what do you say? Well, they tried really hard. The Dragons, they probably should have won, but they didn't. And Raiders won. And Raiders keep winning these games. They winners win, and they keep winning. So I guess we've got to take them seriously at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what
they're causing some problems. I'm not sure how many problems they offer up for teams in the finals, just due to their attack seems very stunted at times.
I think my point is, I don't give them any hope in the finals, but they keep winning games. So if they win 2 finals, well, hey, they're in a grand final.
If they get their defence right, they're one of the harder teams to break down. But
they just feel like a team that, even against these teams, they concede 26 here, they concede points. They concede the same to the Titans. They conceded the same to the Dogs. They concede. They should have lost to the Tigers.
The problem is, I see them struggling to get more than 20 points against the top teams,
and they just don't feel like they could handle that level above intensity. They just and maybe I'm wrong.
They're running. What are they running? Fucking fourth.
They're running fourth. And
2 points behind the 2 teams that are leading the comp. So.
Yeah, it just. You'd like to hope if you were the Sharks, for example, playing them in round 27, you'd be able to burn them.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they've got another gear, but they're getting through it in the gears they've got. So, again.
Absolutely. A couple will come back too when Horsburgh comes back from Origin. And I think they're missing one of the younger fellas out in the back row as well. But,
yeah. There is a couple to come back. And their big front row too.
Papali, yeah. So Tomoko for mine was man of the match. If he doesn't do what he did early, Canberra no chance in this game. Ravalawa with 2 points, and then I had Lomax for the 1. Notable mentions in Amone, and pretty rough not to get some points out of what he put in, and same with Tapane. But
the big 5 were the 3 mentioned. Plus,
I'd probably be happy to
and
swap Amone with Lomax, to be honest.
Well, I think Lomax felt more when the game was on the line. Lomax was the one chasing it. I think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think.
Yep.
Tomoko,
Rava, and Lomax.
Let's go with that.
Yep.
46-10. Hello.
And we're back.
Yes, we are back. I'm gonna have to edit this now. It annoys me. No end. So it's a slap for me. 46-10. The Warriors beat the Eels in the early Saturday game. Barney, boy, what did the stats say?
Yeah, we had 2 tries for the Eels, 8 for the Warriors. 1 out of 2 conversions, played 7 out of 8. 69% completion, played 73%. 436 plus running metres and 150 plus post-contact metres for the Warriors. 3 line breaks to 12. 37 tackle busts to 38. 6 offloads to 8. A forced dropout to 2 for the Warriors. 339 tackles played, 328. 12 errors to 16.
That's not that big difference, is it?
No. Most of the stats were pretty close, apart from the line breaks, to be honest. Where obviously, Warriors ran through some pretty big holes there at times for the Eels. 12 errors to 16 from the Warriors. 5 penalties conceded to 4. 2 ruck infringements to 1. 1 inside the 10 against the Warriors. Barnett with 126 Supercoach points. Metcalf with 112. Montoya with 100. 5 other Warriors players before you got down to Bailey Simonson on 70 Supercoach points.
Now, this Saturday was the advertisement for no more teams. Because the pool's diluted.
They're going to force it through.
They're going to force it. We're going to end up with 20 at some point, but
Maybe not for a while, but they're definitely going to get the next one in the next couple of years.
In the next couple of years. And, if they're going to do it, it should be in New Zealand. I think that's your best hope of a pool. Apparently, in New Zealand, rugby's
Dying off a bit.
dying on the vine there as well. Just 10 years behind it what it is here.
Yeah.
Where it's
Probably
6
20
feet
years
under.
behind you.
But you can't sustain, and we just talked about it last week, you can't sustain a competition with this because, honestly, both Souths, I honestly believe full strength Parramatta is as good a hope of winning the comp as anyone else.
Yep.
From a Rugby League Chaos point of view.
Same with South Sydney and what you saw
same as
on
a
the
full
weekend.
strength South Sydney, and we saw it, both got served up. That said, so are the Warriors. But this
But they're
this isn't
majorly
a sustainable comp.
they're unaffected through Origin. So
That's right.
Yeah.
But this isn't sustainable as having 18 men.
No. It's realistically going to come from New Zealand or from the Pacific Islands with that sort of strategy that they're looking at there. They need to start drawing some more players out of those two pools, I think. Obviously, the game continues to grow in Australia, but we're heavily saturated in Australia with teams over here. So, they're probably the two best options for the growth of the game. First 25, 30 minutes looked like it was going to be a strong back-and-forth game. Both teams were sort of taking shots at each other, and the Eels were aiming up in defence early in this game.
I'd argue the first 20 minutes, Peel's a better team. And if they had their spine, they probably lead 18-0, genuinely 18-0, if not more.
Quite possibly.
But all of a sudden you're reduced to Tigers and Bulldogs level where you can't score.
Yep.
And I think you've got to give that at least that credit to the starting Para pack. Once the gates are open, it's different.
Well, that was the thing I was just about to mention, to be honest. Once that forward rotation kicked in, the Warriors / Luke Metcalf just absolutely took over and just started burning the Parramatta pack on all over the place, through the middle of the pack, on the edges, and causing no ends of problems. And once they got in behind the forward pack, it opened up everything out wide for them to score out there as well. So Montoya cashed in, had a really strong game for the Warriors. But Metcalf was brilliant, absolutely brilliant with some of the touches he had in this game.
This was the Metcalf I've been waiting for.
This is the Metcalf I knew he had at the Sharks, and they just they picked Moylan to play in front of him. He would have been one that really should have been hung on to and been injected into this year's team, and who knows. But, it was close until the forwards came in, and then as soon as that rotation came in, the Warriors forwards really kicked it up a gear. Likes of Ale, Bunty Afoa. Fanua Blake was a little bit quiet in this game, but Tauhu Harris was punching holes through the middle of the field.
It's probably Tauhu's best game.
He was fantastic, especially ball in hand. He still got he was playing ball as well. There's some really nice short passes, which he's really seemed to focus on over the last 6 weeks, trying to promote his other forwards to run onto the ball. He's become that sort of...
One of his legs is going to fall off. So
I've had enough of running. You take it. I'll even try to put you in a hole. Fair call. Parramatta were just completely off their feet by the time the second half hit. They looked gassed. They looked like they'd completely run out of energy, and they just could not go anywhere near keeping up with this Warriors team, who were just full of running. Especially the halves. Both halves were running, causing problems. And then as soon as they drew in defenders, the ball got quickly shifted out wide. Walker provided a really good link as well until he ended up getting injured and taken off the field. But he's added another dimension to their attack this year as well. I think he's been tremendous for the Warriors. But they just got monstered everywhere on the field for most of this match, apart from the first 20 minutes. These blokes are now my second favourite team, to be honest with you. I love the way they're playing football. If the Sharks
forget last week. Forget it ever happened. There was a bog. Who cares? Yeah. Look at what they've done in the last 6 weeks. They're gapping teams. Yeah. They have to be considered. Well, as I said, I feel like they're going to be the grand final.
You throw a strike centre into this team, and they're a fucking dead set hope of
they still
constant threat. They're a threat, but you give them a star centre as well. They'd be right up there. But
if you're saying right to win the comp, you'll beat Penrith. Mm-hmm. They can bash Penrith. They've got points.
Yep.
Their outside backs can match Penrith physically. Maybe not class wise in terms of a Stephen Crichton or two. He's going to bust a couple of them.
Yeah.
Their fullbacks is good. over the last 6 weeks.
He has been, yeah.
Again, Penrith fans going to shout at me, but I don't care. Charns has been as good as, if not better than Edwards over the last 6 weeks.
Eagers have been quite good.
They've got a better hooker.
The halves.
And they've got better forward depth.
Yeah.
Fucking Mitch Barnett's just come back. He's now a monster. Well, he's a monster now. As long as he doesn't deck anyone in the next 6 weeks.
Well, he was a big, like we said it before the season started, he was going to be a massive in for this side, and he's proved it now. He sat out for 10, 12 weeks or whatever it was in the season, and they got through it without him, and now he's just added, that extra punch in the middle of the field for him.
And Jackson Ford hits holes as well as anyone in the comp and got through 200 metres here.
Yeah, if the Sharks don't make the grand final and these guys do, I'll be buying a Warriors flag for the day, and I'll be a Warriors fan for the grand final.
Be, yeah.
They're going awesome. Love the way they're playing footy. Para as a whole, like pretty much the whole team was average at best. Like they just really didn't have a lot going, and now it looks like Lane might cop a suspension. Did he get a charge for that trip?
I haven't.
At the back end
fines,
of the game?
All fine.
Just a fine. Okay, he got away with that one.
Hopgood got monsters here. Hopgood was like just swept out
and he was
the
probably
sea.
their best.
But he was just taken out the sea in the tide.
He was probably still their best, or close enough to it.
Paulo had a good first 20. Like
Cartwright
he
was
matched
decent.
Up to him, but
yeah, Cartwright was decent in the middle of the field. Simonson and Assie looked like their only real attacks.
Ironically,
attacking
in
threats.
a team that looked like this, I thought Assie was great.
He's
I thought
fantastic.
Assie, he wasn't scared to run. He wasn't scared to still try things. And again, we're talking shop window halves in a comp with no halves.
Tigers. Tigers. Pick up the phone.
Why not?
But he looked every bit of first grader in this game and was their biggest he was their best playmaker by a long way, and Simonson took advantage of some really nice holes. He's become a really ferocious ball runner recently. I don't know what's happened to him, but in the last, probably 8 weeks or so, he's really starting to hit holes with some pace and some aggression, and it's starting to come good for him. So well done him. Maddo and Hopgood worked their ass off like they generally do, but as you said, they were probably just smothered by the end of it. Barnett was great. Metcalf was brilliant. And go back to Egan and Ford.
Well, we just touch on Metcalf. Like, he's big, he's strong, he breaks tackles, and he's as quick as anyone
Fantastic
else in the
support player. Got a good step on him.
He's got the big cutout ball.
Decent cutout pass, yeah. A couple of nice little kicks.
Exciting player.
Egan and Ford were fantastic. Sean Johnson, Tohu Harris were brilliant as well. But they were just their standouts. Like, you go through their whole team, they were all pretty good. Fanua Blake, Walker, like there was plenty of good players out there.
Like
Montoya.
He's now reached sort of the Payne Haas territory. Like, we're 200 standard, 200 metres is 193 here, and I didn't really have him for points, to be honest.
Yeah, no, he wasn't busting holes or anything. He was just doing his work through the middle of the field. No, I didn't have him for points either. Easily Metcalf was man of the match. Barnett with some fantastic 2 tries and some whole heap of work in the middle of the field, and then the tribal leader for 1.
I had Tohu for 2, and I'm happy to give Barnett 1. So give it to Tohu because we don't give enough to Tohu.
Okay, Tohu 2 and Barnett with 2 tries. We'll give him 1. It's all right. Let's do it.
No, because Tohu deserves it for last week. Right. for all those weeks he's had to still argue for.
And we haven't got him a point.
Then chaos. This was chaos. Then we got more chaos. 36-32. The Bulldogs exclusively tipped by me on the preview show.
You did.
Who got the full round, just quietly.
You did.
32 over the Bunnies. I think I'm now 21 out of 23 the last 3 rounds, whatever it is. 19 out of 21
Fantastic.
last 3 rounds.
Wow.
So look out, I'm back.
Back.
Shame I did fuck all for the first 15 rounds
First
in the
18 rounds
PCTC
of
tipping
the
cup. Anyway, it was whatever, 6 tries all, and Matt Burton's very nice kicking was the difference.
Yeah, 32-36, 6 tries apiece, as you mentioned. 4 out of 6 conversions for the Rabbits, 5 out of 6 for the Dogs, and 1 out of 1 penalty attempts for the Bulldogs. 71% completion, played 72%. 167 plus running metres for the Bulldogs. 8 line breaks to 9, 35 tackle busts to 40. 8 offloads to 17 for the Bulldogs. 3 forced dropouts by the Rabbits side. 296 tackles played, 328. 12 errors from both teams. 6 penalties conceded by Souths, 3 by the Bulldogs. 2 ruck infringements against Souths. 1 inside the 10. Played 2 inside the 10 against the Dogs. A sin bin for the South Sydney team. Wilson with 109 Supercoach points. Burton with 105. Blake Taff with 102.
Did you know, Barney, and mark Phil Rothfield's words,
right?
Jaden Sullivan will be feeding the scrum for
So I heard.
the Bulldogs
Yeah, I saw that.
next year. Mark his
I
words.
saw the message you threw out in the group chat.
So the good news is Toby Sexton's available as
Been
well.
brushed after a week.
Arcee and Sexton in the halves for the Tigers next year will do it. That's
Could
fine.
do worse. Could absolutely
Because,
do worse.
hey, a halfback turned up and, hey, there was some football played.
And what was this game? Like, seriously,
Oh, it doesn't matter.
was
Like, it's just like
chaos.
just,
As you mentioned.
it was reserve grade, is what it was. And I mean it with all due respect to everyone. This was New South Wales Cup.
Big Tom crashing over. You only cop 17s or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I had.
He's
I was
normally
keen
30s
on, I was
every
keen
year,
on,
every
Big
game.
Tom. He was 67. I was keen on Big Tom first try scorer, and I thought, you know what, I'll put him on first, second, or third at 17 instead, and there he was.
He was 67, was he?
Yeah. Busting
ouch.
over. I didn't even see. I just threw it on. Yeah, that'd be right. He might score second. And there you go. Because that is how my life works. Yeah.
Yeah, barging over for the first try, and you sort of thought, oh, okay, Souths might just fucking own this game. They owned the first five or 6 minutes, or 7 minutes, or whatever it was. And the Dogs just went fucking bang, 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 3 in a row. Scored 3 tries in 7 minutes, and it was a completely different game. You had.
I like Blake Wilson.
Yeah,
He's fast.
he is fast.
I liked his debut.
Very balanced
I liked his debut.
with the way he runs the ball.
And I liked him here.
Doesn't look like he's like he looks like he could cop a hit if someone's coming across trying to put him into touch. Pretty
Problem is
solid.
he's not big enough to really play centre.
No.
I think Carraz ends up in the centre if you want
He's
to
got,
try and
he's
grow
got
a
good
hole in,
footwork and pace. So we'll see how that goes on. I'm sure they'll put a couple of kilos of muscle on him over the next year or two. But yeah, he looked fantastic with his finishing in this game. That was a sin bin that sort of led to those 3 tries too, because they had Milne. That was when Milne went off, wasn't it? And they scored 2 of those 3 tries, or they might have scored all 3 in that period. Milne was off the field, and they were absolutely killing South's right-hand defence. Like they were aiming, in particular, at that one spot on the right-hand side. And then Souths went, okay, we're going to attack the same. We're going to attack your left-hand side. So if you had tickets on the other side of the field, it would have been a pretty rough game because you would have been looking at nothing was happening on your side of the field. It was all happening over in the other corner. I'm pretty sure most, if not all, the tries came down that corridor for both teams in opposition of each other. A couple of young players really put their stamp on this game. As you mentioned, Wilson, Taff, who's been in and out of first grade for South Sydney.
Talk about shop window. He was the best player in the field by
absolutely
daylight. And if he's not, I think he came through as a half as well. So
Yeah, he did come through as a half.
I don't know if his kicking game. I can't recall a lot of his kicking game in those couple of years ago when he was
Probably
playing in the halves,
too small to play in the halves. I think he's probably.
But he was fantastic.
Defence isn't fantastic, but he had a massive game. Munro on the wing for South Sydney had a fantastic game as well. He had a couple of nice finishes there. Tallis Duncan with his try, he ran away down the middle of the field. He got some pace for a back rower. And Quai Ward for the Bulldogs out in the centres. Galton came on, only had limited minutes, but
he had 2 touches. He dropped the first, and he had one of the try of the seasons.
And
Set up one of the
second,
try of the season.
second touch was brilliant, where he busted through some blokes. Got some big size about him, so be interesting to see how they end up getting him into this team. The middles were pretty even. I thought the Dogs were maybe a little bit more consistent in the middle of the field than South Sydney. They really stuck to their task in the middle of the field, and it was the Dogs' halves that won this game. Sexton came in, laid a platform, got Burton that touch wider, got him that bit deeper as well. I'd noticed he played a lot deeper off at 5'8" there, and they did it on purpose because you saw the centre and the winger adjust to it as well. So gives him that extra 2 steps to have a think about what he's doing and get everything in the right position, and it paid off really well for the Bulldogs in this one. Totola and Mamazoulos were good for the South Sydney team. Burgess Havili were very good. Ilias and Munro added a lot, but Ilias was missing at times, and his defence was very patchy as well.
He was outplayed. The other 2 halves had a lap on him here. And I can't even necessarily blame the forwards because there was enough position and chances for them to be in there.
They were beaten slightly, but nothing to put them on the back foot.
On paper, they're like Totola got through a mountain of work. Tommy spent some. Was he on the field the whole time? Tommy, he played 40 minutes and he was captain. And he had Tallis Duncan, and they're missing a couple, but they had enough opportunity. Don't know how long they hold on to those 2, to be honest, Hawkins and Ilias.
Yeah, Taff was their biggest threat. He had a great game. He was, especially in that comeback when they were getting back into it. They were looking for him. Like there was no other option. It was get the ball to Taff and see what he can do with it. So, and he did a fair bit.
I think he did enough to be saying even when they're full strength, he probably needs to be in a 17.
Yep.
Whether it's dummy half, whether it's whatever, whether they have a pre-season with him at half, I don't know. See what he can produce, but all the trail ends up moving into 6, and that's for down the road for South fans. But
Averillo, Carraz, and Kwai Ward were good out in the outside backs for the Dogs too.
Averillo was great, back at fullback, a bit more time and space, but he's going up to Dolphins now have 17 centres on the roster, so I don't know where he's going.
They're going to have a team full of centres, aren't they?
I don't actually know what's happening there between him and Valance and.
You probably
Herbie
find one or two of them might end up coming back, back down the highway.
Someone's going to be spat out the other end. Bromwich played there on the weekend, but
Preston, Tavita Pangai were good, without being tremendous.
If Reid just fucking passed once or twice, would have got a $1,500 multi.
Reid was fucking fantastic, though.
He was fantastic, but 3 or 4 times he was through the line, and Preston's there just going, and he didn't pass. I had him at my multi for the weekend was Wilson, Burgess, and Preston at 100 to 1. And I really didn't.
AJ was what cost me, and I had Reid to score a try, which was like
Reid could have put
$6.
Preston over at least 3 times. At least 3 times.
Max King and Reid were very good. Sexton and Tapine.
But I'm a normal human, so I don't inbox them and abuse them. I just go, oh well, fine.
It is what it is. Yeah, Sexton and Tapine were decent. Burton and Wilson absolutely killed it. Between the two of them, they were pretty much all the points came in and around those 2 players for the Bulldogs.
Toby Sexton's had 2 games of first grade this year, and he's all-bar man of the match in both. He was sensational for when they dragged him home for the Titans. And
I didn't give him a point, to be honest. But he was very good.
I said all bar.
He was very good, but he didn't get a point from me.
And I like the fact late in the game he took the line on a lot. He got organised. He was yelling at people. He was yelling at Reid.
Absolutely.
Fucking get me the ball, you dumb shit. I'll sort us out. I love that. I think if you want an organising half, that's great.
He did everything but provide the points. He got him into the positions. His kicking game was good.
I hope the Tigers sign him when Jaden Sullivan goes there next year. But if not, I hope he gets a long and fruitful career at the Bulldogs, because I thought he was fantastic. I think he's a Bulldogs junior. I think it's a bit of that in there, but not in that he's not man of the match. He made the difference in pushing.
He made a
wide,
massive difference.
And that's it. And we are talking a New South Wales Cup game ultimately.
Yeah.
But I think if you're a Bulldogs fan, you should be happy. You really should.
Absolutely.
And he's a 80% kicker that wasn't needed here as well. If you ever need him, he's got that up his sleeve as well.
I tossed up between Taff and Burton for the 3 points.
I almost want to give Taff 3.
Yeah.
I'm
happy
think I'll give Taff 3. I think he's best. I think Burton needs to get 2. They're the only 2.
And then Wilson probably for the 1.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
That's what he did. He didn't just catch the ball and fall over. He had to do a bit of work for his tries and look good doing it.
They're funny, dogs, because you should be excited, but
it's a bit hard to be.
But as Gumps said, teams don't just jump 10 spots on the ladder randomly. But you look at, there's talent there. I don't know where they're going with it. And I know you got to have Kiko come back. Luke Thompson,
maybe
I don't know where he's going.
Back.
I don't know if he comes back. They need another front rower. TPJ was good enough in this game.
They need a front rower or a back rower.
Pengai Jr. is better as a bench forward.
Yeah,
been able to do what he did here. You got King. You find him an accomplice up front. You're in a better spot. All of a sudden you got a set of halves, and you got some exciting outside backs. You should be okay, but you're running 16th. So what does it all mean? All right, and we finished off Golden Point. And as for Souths, you just forget it. But Souths now have dropped 7 in the last 8 or something.
Yeah, hasn't been pretty. At least 4 of the last 5
I haven't even
6.
looked at the ladder lately, to be honest with you. I just assume everyone's where they should be.
It is starting to come that way, actually. Most of the teams are starting to end up where you thought they might have been earlier in the year, except for the Roosters, obviously, with what they've been putting out. But, Titans
Souths
21.
8th. What's the run home here? They're $6 second favourites. So I just have a quick minute. Are you right there, Bun? Yeah.
No, go for it.
South Sydney. Talk amongst yourselves.
I was just going to start steering the ship, but
You talk and I'll do this. Talk
no, I
about
was
the next
moving
game.
on.
Yeah, no, you do that. I'm just going to.
Titans 21, Dolphins 23, 3 tries to 4. 3 out of 3 conversions for the Titans, 2 out of 4 for the Dolphins. 1 out of 1 penalty attempt for both teams, 1 out of 1 field goal attempt for both teams. A missed 2-point field goal attempt that was never going to go anywhere near going over the way that was hit. 87% completion played, 86%, 133 plus post-contact meters for someone. I'm an idiot and didn't write down who it was.
Yay.
8 line breaks to...
Okay, I'll cut in because I'll pull up the stats in a sec. So, Bunnies have a bye. They're going to have the Brisbane off the bye. Tigers, Sharks, Dragons, Knights, Roosters. So they've got a flattering draw to come home with, but they're 8th right now. And with the bye, they'll be 24th. They'll be 6th. So they'd have to do well with Latrell's back.
To make the 4.
If Latrell's back in round 21, they're probably knocking on the door of the 4, to be honest. But, mate, a tough draw there. They miss the 8. They generally miss the 8. But, and they're no good things. But I can't see, like, the bottom 4 can't all pull their pants down.
It's from you. It all comes back to you, mate. Tipped them to win the comp 8 weeks ago.
I'm now with the Waz.
You're on the Waz now?
Waz.
Watch them go.
Sorry, everyone in New Zealand. What do you want? Post-contact meters. What was the stat?
No, it was just meters.
Meters.
Run meters went to the Dolphins.
Oh, you're just doing that. Okay, go.
Yeah. Because post-contact meters was only 20-something different, I'm pretty sure.
There's no real...
Oh, no, it was post-contact meters. 133 plus post-contact meters for the Dolphins. And then the run meters were pretty close. If it's within 100, I generally don't mention it. 8 line breaks to 7, 35 tackle busts played 43, 17 offloads to 13, 1 forced dropout for both teams, 422 tackles made by the Titans, 323 by the Dolphins, 9 errors to 8, 5 penalties conceded to 6, 2 inside the 10s for the Titans, 1 for the Dolphins. Kelly with 105 Supercoach points, Randall with 97, and then you had 2 other players before you got down to Kenny Bromwich from the Dolphins on 84.
Even keel, again, shallow pool. Dolphins are a gassed-out team and look gassed out at times, but looked like they tried at times and just came up against a team with no forwards. Because
one of those games that seemed to swing backwards and forwards every 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like one team had the ascendancy for 5 or 10 minutes and then it'd go back the other way. The Titans probably seemed to hold ascendancy a little bit longer than what the Dolphins did at times and were probably the better team by the end of the game.
The outside backs were clearly better. This is Sammy, Kelly, were at their attacking best. We obviously, they're our 2 favourite whipping boys when they're not. But all 5 of actually their whole backline was fantastic here, Titans, and they were clearly better than their opposition. Yeah. Unfortunately, the Dolphins.
You take their 3 kingpin forwards out of this side, and
that's the difference.
They were brought back to the pack.
I think if you flip this, Titans win this and win this well. But it wasn't the case, and again, the pool and the way we want to bastardise our league is cost of time. Yeah.
Dolphins just seem to be able to score points at the right times. Like a couple of them were fortuitous bounces of the ball. And different things like that, but when they needed points, they just managed to get them. They traded field goals in the last couple of minutes of the match. Boyd's deflected field goal didn't look like it was going to get there, but he managed to obviously hit it hard enough that it bounced off someone and went over. Cruel way to lose a game with the penalty after a missed field goal attempt, but the bloke was offside, standing directly in front of the ref, and he called him twice. And he just continued to run out and didn't stop. So,
I loved on social media. Triple M and Co put up, "Oh, is this the first time this ever happened?"
No.
And I said,
no,
"No,
it's not.
because it's happened to the Tigers on every other occasion." Twice.
I'm fine with it. I actually applaud the referee.
I had no problem with the call.
I applaud the referee for doing it. I had no problem with
the call, but the only time it's ever happened is to the West.
About 2 minutes earlier, there was an opportunity for
Tigers heavy, and I'm sorry about that.
The exact opposite to happen down the other end of the field, which wasn't given.
Correct.
Question marks around that, but yeah, I applaud him for calling it out. He obviously called the bloke twice who was standing directly in front of him, and he just continued to run. So that'll be a lesson he'll probably learn, or you would hope he would learn from. I think it was Randall, not 100% sure. But nice to know that Connolly can do the worm, or the dolphin, or whatever they were calling it.
It was a very good worm.
Pretty impressive, wasn't it?
Good worm. And we didn't even mention the Canberra celebration
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the.
We'll
And the
save that because
Oh,
we'll,
okay.
we'll get to that.
fair enough.
Yeah, they just. I thought the Titans were. The Dolphins just had more consistent contributors in the middle of the field, while they weren't, out and out blowing away the middle of the field. They just had more guys doing more work than what the Titans were. There was a couple of guys there that went pretty light on, I thought, in the Titans forward pack, mixed in with a couple of guys that were quite good, but. Titans seem to have a lot more on the edges, as you mentioned. Their back five was really had it over their opposition. The Dolphins seem to struggle out wide, which has been one of their better positions. Like, they've been quite good out there up until they've started this slide recently. But
Luckily, they've got 12 centres arriving next year.
they had it all over their opposition. Both sets of halves were good, I thought, in this game, without being outstanding. But young Haas was good for the Titans side. Clark, Liu were also quite good. I thought Alec had a really big impact for the Titans off the bench. So did Randall, and you can chuck Jolliffe in there too. They really added to their pack when they did come onto the field. Campbell and Kelly were brilliant. Like Jaden Campbell was everything for the Titans in this game. He was providing every line break, all the productive attacking play for them, and he just looked like he was. It was shades of his old man at times in this game.
Yeah.
He was brilliant. They just couldn't put a shot on him. He was running hard, like just didn't care he doesn't care how small he is. He just runs straight at blokes. If he thinks there's half a gap there, just bolts as fast as he can, which obviously speed equals a bit of power, so it makes it hard for him to get a shot on him. I think I heard today that he had a 2.5 average second play the ball. Wow. Which was like a second faster than anybody else out on the field.
Well, Cam Murray average is about 3.1 or something.
Yeah, so he's basically getting through the line every time he touches it, and then getting up and getting quick play the balls off the back of it.
What do you do with him? Do you like long term? Does he play halfback? Do you try and pull the Sharks Preston card? Because where else do you put him?
6 when foreign goes, but.
And keep AJ. I think AJ won.
AJ at fullback.
But I'm saying, who's going to be better in
or
the line?
AJ ends up.
Do you try and give him
lock?
Do you try and
but
give?
He's probably
no,
not
he's
big
not
enough.
He's not a lock.
But he could play in the attack.
fullback.
He could play.
And my point is, it's
maybe defend him out. Defend him at
He
centre.
could play in a centre, I suppose.
Defend him at centre. Attack at 13.
But I think you try and you give him a crack at 7, and you really it would need a coach with balls. And Desi's completely off his head, so maybe that's him.
Maybe.
But maybe you try and play the Presto Sharks card and say you got your team, go for it.
Quite
and you got AJ and give him a year with Foreign. And that's not fair on Tanner Boyd, who's had a good year.
He has had a good year.
What do you do? And he'll probably end up at 6, realistically, because they'll just go, well,
you're going to play 14
for another year. Season. You'll be 21 soon, and then we'll worry about it. Yeah. But
I dare say that's the way they'll go.
Because AJ's only, 25 or something? AJ's got 10 years left.
26 maybe? Yeah.
Yeah.
But
anyway.
he was fantastic. I thought he was the best player on the field, to be honest. He was brilliant. The back five were okay for the Dolphins, but yeah, every forward for him was good, I thought. Wallace, Stone, Lemuelu were probably some of the standouts there. You throw in Kenny Bromwich, who was probably their best player on the field. Got through a mountain of work, was actually effective out there. You didn't see his grubber come out. It was pretty good. He hasn't come out for a little while, actually, which is probably something.
Here on the end of season trip, they say it's a good trip when his grubber doesn't come out either. So
yeah,
there
right.
You go,
okay.
Kenny, yeah.
There it is. As I said, I thought Jaden Campbell was man of the match. 3 points to him. I gave Kenny Bromwich 2. And someone I didn't even mention there, but I had Verrills for 1. I thought Verrills was tremendous again in this game for the Titans.
I have nothing to add to this, so what analysis that is for you, Barney. There's the best in the business, covering it all off, and we'll be back soon on Footy and Frothy.
Probably feel sorry for Kelly. He probably deserves a mention as well, but... I thought Brian Kelly was fantastic also.
He was. And as was Philip Sammy. They were both, our kicking boys are both good. I don't need to add. I think you've fucking nailed that. Well done. You want a minute?
No, I'm good.
All right.
We can slap salutes and we'll fuck off out of here.
We've got to talk about some pot plants, though. I'm going to give my pot plant of the week in a week of chaos. Sean Russell
Right.
had a tough time back there.
Yeah, he was all out of position.
Pulled everywhere by the running and kicking games of the Warriors halves. But actually, you know what? Also, Penasini, for someone who we're a big fan of, he missed a lot. He was in the wrong position a lot and got exposed a little bit. But they're against a good team. What do you think?
Let's go with another Parramatta player. Mine was Mike Acevo.
Oh, well.
For a bloke who's done some tremendous things in this game, he was as quiet as any other player that I saw this weekend. He had 8 runs for 50 metres.
But he might be the
They needed him to stand up and bust tackles and be, take hit-ups from...
But he's never been that.
But then someone needs to fucking slap him about and get him to do it because he'd be distracted.
I know what he can be. He might be the best one-dimensional player in the game.
Just add 6 hit-ups to his game.
Dimensions are awful.
6 hit-ups to his game. And it'd fucking make a massive difference.
Like I said, compare his last 6 weeks to... Compare his season to Ravalawa.
Look what fucking Brian To'o, who's a third of his size, does fucking week in, week
fair.
out. Like,
if you compare his actual output... And also look at how many tries he walks over untouched.
He had 8 runs for 50 metres, an error, 3 tackles, and a missed tackle.
Yeah.
Like, you may as well have... He was a pot player and he just sat out in the wing and did fuck all
fair.
with the game.
Have you got a slap?
I do. It was the Crocker Frawley combination in defence out there for the Raiders. It was appalling. And anyone else defends out there, the Dragons probably only scored 10 or 12 points.
Sorry, 2 things I didn't mention. One, Sorry, I'm going to slap the bunker again because I can.
Mm-hmm.
But across the board, the worst one was the one on the Casey Badger one. I don't want to. I've just said a name, and I've just forgotten. And I know who it was, and I can't think now.
I do remember you throwing it up.
It was
blowing up about it at the time, but fuck if it's stuck in my head.
It was Carl Pereira. When they called it a push in the back, and the bloke just didn't even come near to push him in the back.
Yeah, at worst it was a bump as he went past.
But that's
him.
2 weeks in a row the Titans have actually got rooted on that. So, that made me angry. But there was a few again along, and again, 4 years in now. Sorry, again and again. Salute who I'm going to salute. I'm going to salute Toby Sexton, going to a club and dragging him through a game and making everyone look better. And I think that's a nice thing. So well done, Toby. I hope he has a long and fruitful career and the Bulldogs win some matches.
Try July.
Oh, well,
leave out the sponsors and whatever, but the whole concept's brilliant. The money that's coming into a very worthy cause, and the two NRL guys who are doing it tough at the moment, and just some of the celebrations that we've seen. You saw the Wilson with the lawn, kick the ball along with the lawnmower, Connolly with his worm, and then obviously White and letting the ball go through to the keeper and walking out of his crease to get run out.
No, it was the best thing about that was the pom batting.
Yeah, it was
the
Whitehead.
fact it was
and in Yorkshireman.
They went and found a pom to bat. I thought that was outstanding. So yes, I concur.
You see Piers blowing up about it?
Yeah,
oh, fucking
he can get
idiot.
slapped as well.
Jesus Christ.
Slap him twice as hard. Fuck him. That's been Footy and Frothies. Check out rugbyleaguemerch.com. Buy some of those sexy hats, Steins, shirts, jerseys, all sorts of good
Schooner
stuff
glasses,
there. Them things.
Anything. Yeah, bottle openers.
Leave us some feedback on YouTube and let us know what we've got right and wrong tonight. And stick around because we're going to talk about Origin 3 very soon. 3 shows this week because we'll be back Thursday night to preview round 20. Take care, guys, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Just pop